Welcome to the Fall 2020 Ladies Big Book Study Recording Series. My name is Kimberly and I am a recovered alcoholic. I am the facilitator of a tri-weekly Big Book Study for ladies only, and we record each session so we can share the knowledge along with you. What we do is we read the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous line by line. We pause on each page and have discussion time to share our experience, our strength, and our hope on each page. You are more than welcome to follow along in this series and do the work of the steps of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. If you do need support at any time, please reach out to me in the Contact Us area of my YouTube channel, and we're happy to provide you with support. The online recordings are open to men and women. Do not be discouraged, gentlemen. Our ladies' point of view may offer you a different perspective. So welcome. I hope you enjoy. All right, ladies, we're going to continue on in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We're in the doctor's opinion, XXVII. The doctor writes, the subject presented in this book seems to me to be of paramount importance to those afflicted with alcoholic addiction. I say this after many years' experience as medical director of one of the oldest hospitals in the country treating alcoholic and drug addiction. There was, therefore, a sense of real satisfaction when I was asked to contribute a few words on a subject which is covered in such masterly detail in these pages. We doctors have realized for a long time that some form of moral psychology was of urgent importance to alcoholics, but its application presented its difficulties beyond our conception. With our ultra-modern standards, our scientific approach to everything, we are perhaps not well equipped to apply the powers of good that lie outside our synthetic knowledge. Many years ago, one of the leading contributors to this book came under our care in this hospital, and while here, he acquired some ideas which he put into practical application at once. Later, he requested the privilege of being allowed to tell his story to other patients here, and with some misgiving, we consented. The cases we have followed through have been most interesting. In fact, many of them are amazing. The unselfishness of these men as we have come to know them, the entire absence of profit motive, and their community spirit is indeed inspiring to one who has labored long and wearily in this alcoholic field. They believe in themselves, and still more in the power which pulls chronic alcoholics back from the gates of death. So a lot of talk in here, and it's starting to allude to the fact that no human power can relieve us of our alcoholism. So these are doctors who have specialized in treating alcoholics, and they're saying, look, we're the best at what we do, and we haven't been able to help them. You know, we've tried our moral psychology, we've tried our methods, and we've failed. In these cases, we don't know what to do. These men are doomed. They're hopeless. And I like to think of the moral psychology. I tried every self-help book out there. Tony Robbins, Brene Brown, all that good stuff. I've got a whole bookshelf of these things, and none of that helped me. The only thing that helped me was the spiritual course of action. And it says here, the leading contributor to this book, who is, of course, Bill Wilson, was under care, and while he was here, he had some ideas which he put into practical application at once. For those who have been here before and those who've been through the Big Book before, you know that that's Bill's story, where Ebby came to see him prior to him going to the hospital for the third time for detox, so he was told what the steps were before going in. And while in and detoxing, he started to apply them to his life. So we talked a little bit last time about the time frame. We don't have to wait 90 days. Go to 90 meetings in 90 days, and then you can start the steps. Heck, they informed them what this program was on their way into detox or while they were at the hospital detoxing. And then they applied this program to their life and started right there, then and there. So again, for me, I like to recommend detox and a good dose of AA as opposed to detox and treatment, because we get a lot of ideas in treatment that take a lot of deprogramming. I like to think of it as I once put my name in for a job that I was underqualified for. But I got the job because I was underqualified. And the employer said to me, "We chose you because we can teach you to do it the way we would like you to do it." We turned down people with lengthy experience because we would have had to unwork all of their bad behaviors they had learned in another office. And so for them, they wanted a blank slate. So for me, I love a blank slate so that I can show them this program as it's written in the book and not try to unprogram all of the different ideas that they've picked up, either through failed methods, from not strong sponsorship, or from treatment centers. Because, we get a lot of ideas and we hear a lot of things that aren't part of the program of recovery that's suggested in this book. Talks a lot about unselfishness, and we're going to hear that as a theme as we go through the altruistic movement that we had on the previous page. Now we're talking about the unselfishness of these men. These men just wish to be helpful. Same with me. I want everybody to get the same opportunity I've had to recover, and so I make myself available as such. All right, join in the conversation. Wave me down or find your little blue hands. Della. Oops. I muted you.
There we go. Della, alcoholic. Good morning, ladies. I just found a good one. Power at the end of that one paragraph is capitalized. So I've highlighted and underlined that one. So it's giving us that little clue that yes, it's a power, but it's a capitalized power. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you. And Della's been through my big book study before, so she knows that I talk about big P's and little P's. And you can see there is two powers here. The one in the middle of the page says apply the powers of good, and that's a little p. That little p is a verb. So that means that we are trying to do the action of applying that power. When we get to the bottom of the page, the power that Della's referring to is a capital P, which makes that word a noun, which means that it's a person, place, or thing. And in this case, it's a thing, which is a higher power, or a person, which is God. So the powers, and you'll notice that theme throughout the book where there's verbs and nouns. And there's a page that we'll get to in We Agnostics where it's really prominent. Good job, Della. Mel.
Hello. I just got after, the paragraph that ends such masterly detail. I've got that masterly detail because God took care of it, and it wasn't our, well, as it says later on, it's not our own man-made synthetic knowledge, it's God's knowledge, and so that's the masterly detail. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you remember that on the previous page, the doctor says you can rely absolutely on anything they said. And now he's saying, they've written this book with masterly detail. And if you think of college and university, you go and you get your degree, and then you get your 4-year degree, and then you get your master's degree. So it's saying that this book is this basic text, and it covers it in masterly detail. And, a lot of us who do love this book, we do believe it's divinely inspired. There was so much foreshadowing in this book, and so many things that, it just alludes to the fact that it was a divinely inspired book. Marianne.
Hi, Marianne, alcoholic. At the bottom, in the middle of the page where it says, we are perhaps not well equipped to apply the powers, which is lower p, of good that lie outside our synthetic knowledge. Practical knowledge is great, but these people, unless they've been where we are, they cannot help us no matter what. So, it's like you can read a book on how to give shots to a patient, but if you don't do it, you're really not going to learn how to do it. That's it.
That makes me think of those, doctor shows, and then you see the person in the restaurant and they have to do that tracheotomy, and they're like, well, I saw it on TV. And of course, synthetic is man made. So again, it's alluding to this man made power. Suze?
Am I unmuted?
Yep.
Okay, I just want to say that it's true about the experiential. 2.5 years in, I'm an alcoholic and I'm starting to understand my own disease. Never mind expecting my family to understand it. And I just had a manic episode that lasted 3 weeks. And nobody understood, except you guys. You really understood I was grieving. And so even my daughter, out of university with an RN degree, working in acute medicine, called the cops on her mother, convinced my family doctor that I was losing my mind, told me I needed to be in a psych ward, and the cops showed up at my door. That's how convincing they thought. And I just said, I'm grieving. I'm at home. I'm crying. I'm OCDing. I'm cleaning my house because I've got all this excess energy. And people of knowledge, doctor, nurse, didn't understand. And Kimberly, thank you for sending me that cart because I had no food, no milk, and I filled the cart and Walmart showed up 2 hours later. I hadn't eaten because my credit card fucked up. So you guys get it and nobody will get it and it's epic. And I'm so glad I understand because I can help somebody who's going into a manic episode from getting in their car and driving into a garage because that's an option. But I just grieved it, and I knew it was finite, and I would get over it with the help of you lovely ladies. So I owe you a huge thank you. Mwah.
Thanks, Suze. And yeah, this is an unselfish thing. Thanks aren't necessary. This is just what we do. All right. No more hands.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Evelyn. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't know. I'm well.
Good. Thank everybody for sharing. I just like the last part of the they believe in themselves and still more in the power, which pulls chronic alcoholics back from the gates of death. And thank you, Kimberly, for your service. I'm having a little time talking because I got a little echo, and I have my sponsor on the other end. So I'm hearing myself talk. But I like that part too, where it said no human being can relieve me of my alcoholism, but God. And I'm truly grateful that God pulled me back from the gates of hell. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. All right. Any more? You can unmute. Okay. Bottom of the page. Of course, an alcoholic ought to be freed from his physical craving for liquor, and this often requires a definite hospital procedure before psychological measures can be of maximum benefit. We believe, and so suggested a few years ago, that the action of alcohol on these chronic alcoholics is a manifestation of an allergy, that the phenomenon of craving is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker. These allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all, and once having formed the habit and found they cannot break it, once having lost their self-confidence, their reliance upon things human, their problems pile up on them and become astonishingly difficult to solve. Underline and highlight that one. Frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices. The message which can interest and hold these alcoholic people must have depth and weight. In nearly all cases, their ideals must be grounded in a power greater than themselves if they are to recreate their lives. If any feel that as psychiatrists directing a hospital for alcoholics, we appear somewhat sentimental, let them stand with us a while on the firing line. See the tragedies, the despairing wives, the little children. Let the solving of these problems become a part of their daily work. And even in their sleeping moments, the most cynical will not wonder that we have accepted and encouraged this movement. We feel, after many years' experience, that we have found nothing which has contributed more to the rehabilitation of these men than the altruistic movement now growing up amongst them. Men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. The sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, they cannot after a time differentiate the true from the false. To them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontented, unless they can again experience the sense of ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks which they see others taking with impunity. After they have succumbed to the desire again, as so many do, and the phenomenon of craving develops, they pass through the well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful with a firm resolution not to drink again. This is repeated over and over, and unless this person can experience an entire psychic change, there is very little hope of his recovery. Lots in there, lots and lots in there. So we're going to talk about the allergy. So he's talking in depth about this allergy. And he says, this phenomenon of craving is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker. So the phenomenon of craving and the allergy is only there in an alcoholic. A heavy drinker hasn't got it. A moderate drinker hasn't got it. The everyday man and woman doesn't have this phenomenon of craving. It is exclusive to us. We're special. We want to be so special. There we go. We've got this allergy. Great. And it says, these allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all. So, of course, the obvious is going to be drinking it. Don't forget medicines can have alcohol in it. Don't forget food can have alcohol in it. Kombucha, secret killer. Kombucha is fermented and has alcohol in it. We can't ingest alcohol. Myself, I'm even careful with the hand sanitizer, right? Everywhere you go, they want you to rub that sanitizer on your hands. Do I think it's going to cause me to drink? Absolutely not. Is it being ingested into my body? Absolutely yes. The hand sanitizer at my gym smells like straight tequila from friggin' the cheapest bottle on the rack. And they want you to rub it on yourself in between every set at the gym. I would be putting it on my hands 10 times in an hour. That is absorbing through your skin. If you are new in recovery and you have not gone through this process, that can trigger your allergy. Myself, probably not. It's gross. It turns my stomach having the smell. So I wash my hands instead. And I've had an aside with the manager at the gym. And she knows, she follows me on social media. And I said, I'm going to wash my hands in between because I can't use that hand sanitizer. It smells like straight tequila. And she's fine. But be careful with food. But also any forms. Some of us like to abuse other things. The allergy is specific to alcohol only. But some of us abuse other substances and other things to fill our spiritual void. Once we've got this allergy, we can't break it. We lose our self-confidence. Sound familiar? My self-esteem was in the basement. My reliance upon things human, I couldn't do a thing. My problems piled up? Yes. Do my problems pile up because I'm an alcoholic? Is that the alcoholism? No. My problems pile up because I'm alcoholic and I'm too busy dealing with my craving. They're mutually exclusive, but they're part of the same, right? Like I don't have a heap of bills because I'm alcoholic. I don't pay attention to my bills and I don't pay my bills because I'm busy with my allergy and my craving. Frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices. Well, yeah, how many people have asked you to go to treatment? How many people have asked you to stop? Employers, loved ones, family members, spouses, children. Did it help you? No. Did it give you some more resentments to add to your list? Abso-freaking-lutely it did. And then we go on to talk again, altruistic movement that has come up above them. Now he's talking yet again about this program of recovery, about how this is the spiritual solution to this problem that we have. Men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. Notice it doesn't say alcoholics drink because they like the effect. It says men and women drink because they like the effect. Everybody drinks because they like the effect. Maybe it just makes them relax after a hard day. Doesn't mean that they have the allergy and they can't control how much they take once they stop. But us alcoholics, we do. So we're chasing that ease and comfort at all measures, and we overshoot the mark each and every time. Pamela, you had your hand up.
Hi, Pamela, addict alcoholic. I just wanted to quickly add on to that. I had a friend that I met in the program, and because of COVID, she was supposed to be, I think, in jail for 3 months, and she got out and they put her on a tether that monitors your alcohol, and I happened to be with her the week that she got the tether off, and she went upstairs to this closet where she had everything she had been keeping in this closet the entire time, which was hand sanitizer, lotion, hair products. You'd be surprised. Alcohol is literally in everything, and those bands they wear test the alcohol. So if she was to put on some, Victoria's Secret lotion, or it's surprising she could have went back to jail for that. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I've even heard of, I'm muted. Absolutely. I've even heard of, people have the blower devices in their car, and certain foods can set it off. Just the combinations. So, yeah, Della's like, yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. I use SoberLink. I have to do a breathalyzer 4 times a day. And if I use the hand sanitizer at the grocery store, I will get a positive on it. The breathalyzers in the car, some windshield wiper fluid can also set it off because of the alcohol in the windshield wiper fluid. So, and even when I go for my urines, I don't use the hand sanitizer. They let me wash my hands before so that the alcohol is nowhere near it. So yeah, there's a lot of things we have to be careful of for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know treatment centers don't have hand sanitizer anymore because people were actually drinking it. I have a sponsee who likes to drink hand sanitizer, she doesn't any longer. So yeah, we just have to be really cautious of that. Like, it's that sneaky little bugger is everywhere. Catherine.
Hey everybody, Catherine Alcoholic. First of all, I love the doctor's opinion. This is my most tattered part of my book. But I love everything we just read. For me, just discovering the allergy made me kind of relax. I can understand an allergy. It took me a while to get there. But I had down here at the bottom where it says, cannot after a time differentiate the true from the false. And I have that as even sober. When I'm also sober, I don't know what's real and what's not. I've told myself so many lies that I don't know the truth. And I was resentful towards others who could drink without consequences. And the last part about repeating it over and over, I would honestly take a lie detector test, honestly tell you that I never wanted to do this again, ever. And then I would do it over and over and over again. And that is what really took my self-esteem down, because I thought I was just such a loser because I couldn't stop. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add to that other than, last thing, the frothy emotional peel. My mom used to tell me all the time, I have a 16-year-old son, but when he was little, she would be like, look at your son. You're a mother. How can you do this? Look at him. If you really love him, then you would. Mom guilt, I thought, it's awful. And I think that a lot for a lot of us women with kids and looking at that. So that's all I got. Love you guys.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Mel.
Hello. yeah, it's Melanie again. Sorry, I hope I'm not coming in too much. It's going through it again. It means it sort of brings everything back. Frothy emotional appeal I could really relate to, because when my sister was dying of cancer, she said to me one time, after she'd been told that there was nothing else they could do for us, and she said to me, I've got to face death, but you can't just stop yourself drinking. And I felt awful, because I could see what she was saying, but I couldn't do anything to stop myself drinking. I literally couldn't do anything. And then that last two paragraphs on page XXV 111, that for me just shows where my thinking was delusional and totally unmanageable. What I thought was normal, but in actual fact, it was, when you see it written down like that, it just shows me how delusional I was. That's it.
Thank you so much, Mel. Anyone else? All right, let's keep going. XXIX, if anyone's lost track. On the other hand, and strange as this may seem to those who do not understand, once a psychic change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly finds himself able to easily control his desire for alcohol. The only effort necessary being that required to follow a few simple rules. Men have cried out to me in sincere and despairing appeal, "Doctor, I cannot go on like this. I have everything to live for. I must stop, but I cannot. You must help me." Faced with this problem, if a doctor is honest with himself, he must sometimes feel his own inadequacy. Although he gives all that is in him, it is often not enough. One feels that something more than human power is needed to produce the entire psychic change. Though the aggregate of recoveries resulting from psychiatric effort is considerable, we physicians must admit we have made little impression upon the problem as a whole. Many types do not respond to the ordinary psychological approach. I do not hold with those who believe that alcoholism is entirely a problem of mental control. I have had many men who had, for example, worked a period of months on some problem or business deal, which was to be settled on a certain date favorably to them. They took a drink the day or so prior to the date, and then the phenomenon of craving at once became paramount to all other interests, so that the important appointment was not met. These men were not drinking to escape. They were drinking to overcome a craving beyond their mental control. Been there, done that. So we're going back there, and it says, as strange as this may seem to those who do not understand, how many of us have had experience with trying to explain this allergy to people who don't have it? My 22-year-old daughter, she's like, "Mom, I don't think alcoholism's a disease." And I brought out this book and I explained the allergy to her, and she goes, "Yeah, I don't have that." I'm like, "I do." And I can tell her instances where it's happened. And she's like, "Yeah, okay, Mom, that makes sense." But prior to me explaining it with the help of this book, she was one of those people who did not understand. She could not fathom that this was a disease. We suddenly find ourselves, who had so many problems, despaired ever solved them, suddenly finds himself able to control his desire from alcohol. I'm one of those people. Anyone else in this room that's able to control their desire from alcohol? Raise your hand and show us that it works. I have overcome the desire for alcohol. I have no desire. It's been removed. It's been lifted from me. I did nothing special but pull in a higher power and work this program of action. All those men and crying out for sincere and despairing appeal, I hear that myself. I hear sponsees who cry out to me, "I don't understand. I don't get it. I want to stop, but I can't." I lost a sponsee. the morning before she died, her last text message to me was, I don't know how to get more willing. She wanted to get sober. She wanted it with every bone of her body, but she didn't know how to get more sober. And I'll talk about that as we get through the book and the things that I meditated on that. But, you know, this doctor saying he faces his own inadequacy. Here, he's the best doctor when it comes to alcohol and drug addiction in the United States at Towns Hospital, which is the world-renowned hospital at that time. And he's admitting that there's cases that this doesn't work on. But he's also saying, you know, that there's the aggregate of recoveries resulting from psychiatric effort is considerable. So there are people who recover from these other methods that he employed, but what was the difference? They didn't have the phenomenon of craving. They didn't have the allergy. They were heavy drinkers or moderate drinkers. They weren't alcoholics of the hopeless variety. The hopeless variety is those with the allergy. You know, everyone is welcome in AA if you have the desire to drink, but there are different classifications. There are moderate drinkers and heavy drinkers who maybe want to stop before they trigger that allergy, who know their family history. You're welcome here. There's people who have serious consequences from their drinking. They don't have the allergy. They're welcome here. This can work for them, but this program is designed for those who have the allergy, who are of the hopeless variety. We die. We can't just not pick up the first drink. That doesn't work for us. Just don't pick up the first drink. I try not to, but I do anyways. What do you mean don't pick up the first drink? That's my problem. I keep picking it up. I'm that type. I have that malady. I have this allergy. I want to not pick up, but I do. So, you know, this is for us. It's for all who want to stop drinking, but for those who identify as having this allergy, this program works. Talks about the mental control. Obviously, we can't control it. And then, you know, they're drinking to overcome a craving beyond their mental control. How many times did I say I'm not going to drink today? How many times did I say I'm going to have one glass of wine with dinner? I'm only going to have a vodka cranberry. Never happened. You know, Christmas Eve, I'm just going to have a glass of wine and wrap these presents up and put them under the tree. And I'm going to be Little Miss Mommy Poppins for Christmas. And I'm blackout drunk forgetting to pick up my kids on Christmas Eve. Yes, I have done that. Christmas Day morning, I am cleaning up the mess on the floor, trying to explain to my ex-husband why I didn't pick my kids up on Christmas. Thank God he's an alcoholic too, and he covered for my ass, right? But that's what we do. We fuck shit up, and we don't want to. We have great intentions of just having one glass of wine while we wrap presents on Christmas Eve. But we have this craving beyond our control, and we are blackout drunk lying on the floor on Christmas morning. All right, Joanne.
Well, I didn't have my hand up.
Yeah, you did.
I must have accidentally hit it. I'm still listening.
Okay. Beverly.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, you know, for Stitch Along, there's so much in these 2 pages of the doctor's opinion. It's, you know, we could spend like, I don't know, 2 or 3 sessions on it. But, you know, I really thought that for myself, that my problem was behavior and the consequences of my drinking. You know, for years, I was in and out of AA because I thought, well, if I could just change my behavior, you know, or if only those consequences didn't happen to me. But, you know, like it says here in the book, that more than human power was necessary for me. I really had to get to a point where, you know, I wanted that psychic change, and the only way that I've been able to attain any kind of psychic change is through doing the steps. That was it. And I just feel sad that, you know, for so many years, I thought it was a behavior problem, and I really couldn't hear the message of Alcoholics Anonymous. And frothy emotional appeal, from other people or from even me didn't work because it only made me feel guilty, and then I would drink again. That's all I can. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Allison.
Yes, hi, I'm Allison, alcoholic. Thanks for calling on me. Well, I'm one of those immature people that is still stamping their foot. Like, why the F? Are you kidding me? Like, I drank really heavily for a long time, and I had a pretty great life. And so this, like, what? Over the past few years, oh my God, something happened. No doctors can tell you why. Well, that makes me a bit crazy because then I want to fight. God forbid I just, have some acceptance and I do. I pray for willingness and acceptance. There's way worse problems in life that people accept, but alcoholism is really there. No way are you going to say to someone, I am so ill, I've got alcoholism. You don't get the same reaction you would if it was cancer. You just don't. And I find that very tough. But I canceled a vacation back in March because it was an all-inclusive, and I knew that if I went there, I would drink. And I filled out a medical form with the doctor saying that I couldn't go because of alcoholism. And I thought that they'd just laugh in my face and I would never get my money back. It is viewed as a legitimate illness, and that fascinated me. I thought if I was a resort, I'd think, well, what the hell? You booked an all-inclusive and you're an alcoholic? You're not getting your money back. Nope. It is recognized as a legitimate illness. And so I guess we're coming further along that process, which I think would also really help our self-loathing, the guilt, the shame. So the doctor's opinion is a huge help. I just have to work on acceptance. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And one of the things I talk about, and we'll get into it more as we get further in the book, is about acceptance and surrender as opposed to conceding defeat to your innermost self that you're alcoholic. But one of the things I do encourage is acceptance to the fact that we don't have an answer to why, right? Like that's just one of these things where I'm an alcoholic. I've conceded to my innermost self that I have this malady and I have the allergy. Body and mind, I have alcoholism. How I had it, when I had it, all the answers in between, I don't know, and I don't need to know. All I need to know is I have this thing, right? Similar to, if you get skin cancer, you're going to say, okay, well, I went tanning too much and I went out in the sun too much and didn't wear sunscreen. But if you get some sort of internal cancer, you will. Why? What did I do? Did I do this? Did I ingest this? Was I living under power lines? But at the end of the day, you just got to go, I got this. I don't need to know how I got it because that's not important. What's important is acknowledging that we have it so that we can apply the solution to it. Because I've seen so many people drive themselves insane trying to intellectualize it and figure it out. Nowhere in this book does it say figure it out. It just says, do you have this? If you've got it, I got a solution. And so I hope that helps somebody to have that. Joanne, your hand went up again. I'm not seeing stuff.
I'm ready to talk now. Hi, everyone. I'm Joanna. I'm an alcoholic addict. And, the acceptance and the understanding that if I put alcohol in my body, it sets off a physical craving for more. I was really mad about that. I was just really mad about that because that was out of my control. I kept thinking I could control everything with my mind, but to have my body have a different experience with it that I couldn't control really annoyed me. And when I came into the program, I realized that even if I work the big book and the AA program, and I go to therapy and I do all this amazing stuff that creates personal growth, I still can't drink. I still can't drink because there's nothing inside of me that has changed my body chemistry to not have that reaction. I have suggested, though, if you're trying to kind of explain this to children, you know, like what alcoholism is, try giving them one Dorito and then saying, okay, we're done. And they'll say, well, but nobody can eat just one. And it's like, oh, you have a craving for that. Another one. Well, that's how I feel about drinking. There's something in the food. There's something in it that just makes me want to have another one. And so I'm powerless over alcohol and Doritos. But the thing that I really wanted to seriously talk about, I had to go through a grieving period where I was mad, I was sad, I went through all the stages of mourning over the fact of accepting something I didn't want to accept because I couldn't change my body to be different with alcohol, but I had the mental and the spiritual ramifications of being an alcoholic. And dealing with the mental part was my best friend. It was something I relied on. I had so many investments on why I should still keep drinking, but I listened to the people around me and I didn't drink, and little by little, step by step, I let go of the emotional investment of wanting to drink. And I couldn't do that without asking for a power greater than myself to give me the strength and the courage to find other options. Because if alcoholism if drinking is still an option, I won't look for any other options. I will always go to that first. It's my MO, and once I consume it, then the body takes over and just wants more. So that was my thinking. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much. Same goes for Pringles and Oreo cookies. Pick your poison. I can't just have one. Wasn't there a commercial? Bet you can't have just one. Yeah, Lay's. Yeah, that's right. All right, I don't see any more wavers. Anybody waving? Can unmute? Nope. All right. There are many situations which arise out of the phenomenon of craving which cause men to make the supreme sacrifice rather than continue to fight. The classification of alcoholics seems most difficult and in much detail is outside the scope of this book. There are, of course, the psychopaths who are emotionally unstable. We are all familiar with this type. They are always going on the wagon for keeps. They are over-remorseful and make many resolutions, but never a decision. I usually date these kinds. There is the type of man who is unwilling to admit that he cannot take a drink. He plans various ways of drinking. He changes his brand or his environment. There is the type who always believes that after being entirely free from alcohol for a period of time, he can take a drink without danger. There is the manic depressive type who is, perhaps, the least understood by his friends, and about whom a whole chapter could be written. Then there are the types entirely normal in every respect except in the effect alcohol has on them. They are often able, intelligent, and friendly people. All these and many others have one symptom in common. They cannot start drinking without developing the phenomenon of craving. This phenomenon, as we have suggested, may be the manifestation of an allergy, which differentiates these people and sets them apart as a distinct entity. It has never been, by any treatment of which we are familiar, permanently eradicated. The only relief we have to suggest is entire abstinence. This immediately precipitates us into a seething cauldron of debate. Much has been written pro and con, but among physicians, the general opinion seems to be that most chronic alcoholics are doomed. Well, that's cheery. So yeah, I typically date the psychopaths who are emotionally unstable and alcoholic. That's my MO. But when it gets into the type that is unwilling to admit he cannot take a drink, plans various ways of drinking, changes his brand or environment, and then they talk about the type normal in every respect, except the effect. I'm a mix of both myself. I like to consider myself a mix of those two. The manic depressive type, of whom a whole chapter could be written. Man, it'd be nice if someone could write that chapter. It's especially more prevalent today. Mental illness is humongous in our fellowship at this time, and it's been studied a lot more in the 85 years since this book has been written. So, man, I wish someone would write that chapter. It doesn't affect me per se, but it affects a lot of women I work with, and that chapter could be very helpful to our fellowship. And of course, there is so many classes of alcoholics. They said they can't put them all in this book, right? There's 4 later on that we'll read of, and 2 wives, categories that they made, but like there's such a diverse category. But the one thing we all have in common is that phenomenon of craving. That is our common denominator. And then it goes on to say, it has never been permanently eradicated. This book also says that maybe one day science will do so. Well, 85 years later, they haven't. So let's just go on the theory that it won't ever be eradicated. And I have seen this argument in so many Facebook groups about alcoholism. They're like, well, the big book doesn't say not to drink. Well, it's kind of alluded to and throughout the whole book that we're supposed to drink, but here on the page it says, the only relief we have to suggest is entire abstinence. So if you don't drink, you're not going to trigger your allergy. And then you got a chance to apply this program and live a happy, joyous, and free life. But a lot of people miss that in this, and it's quite unfortunate. But yes, most of us are doomed. Luckily, we're going to read a solution on the next page. Any conversation on this page before we get into said solution? Got lots of cats today. Joanne?
You know, they say, simple steps, but it's not easy. And I just wrote, I might be doomed, but not today. A friend of mine who had 45 years, there was a death in his family that he had a really hard time with. And he finally said, I'm moving away from my God. I'm moving away from meetings. It was just really hard. And luckily he didn't drink, and he ended up working really hard to come back and taking these simple steps. But there, we don't know what's going to come, down the road. And all we can rely on, at least all I rely on, is the fellowship and the tools to help me just work those steps, even though sometimes it's really, really hard. But he got through it, and he's back. And the other thing that I wanted to share was, if you have any doubt, for me, if I had any doubt about this being an allergy, I have seen people that had a personality, was functioning, really like highly functional and looked great, and then down the road picked up a drink and they're walking the streets now, and I don't recognize who they are. I just don't. And so that's what alcoholism does. It just takes who we are and crushes it. And even though they'll say, I'd like to get sober, they're hooked, they're addicted, and it's more powerful than anything they can. And yet they're deteriorating, and you think back, but you had it, but they just it's like night and day, and it's scary as hell. And so I take that as a lesson, and I stay close. So, anyways, I wasn't expecting to share that, but it is frightening when you see it. And so then you call your sponsor and we talk about it. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Joanne. And like, it's so true. It's harder to come back than it is to just stay. If you're here, please just stay. There's so many of us here to help you. You made me think of, we have a local gentleman, and he was 88 years old, sober for well over 40 years. I think he had 44 years of sobriety. Amazing, a member of our fellowship. And, in the past month and a half, his health took a turn for the worse, and he was hospitalized. And due to COVID, he was by himself, isolated for a month. He had no connection to the fellowship through any means of technology. He had no way to connect with his sponsees or his sponsor, and his mind deteriorated, and he stopped eating. He had nothing to live for, and he passed. But that just shows the need that we have for this fellowship and for this altruistic movement. If you get disconnected, even like he died sober, but that last month was not the sobriety he had lived those 44 years. And it's tragic to hear that story, that we weren't able to get him the technology to keep him connected to the fellowship. And that's why I love my remote communities committee so much, right? Like, that's what we do. And, the nurses just wouldn't let us in, and it sucked. Lucille.
Hi, I'm Lucille. I'm an alcoholic. I know there's no cure for alcoholism, but I believe science has done something because I've heard different people talk about a pill that their doctor puts them on to taper them off of alcohol, I mean. So there is a little bit of research being done maybe, but I know that pill is not a cure.
No, and it doesn't cure their alcoholism, it detoxes them. So all it is a new method of detox, antabuse. So it causes your body to have a reaction if you take alcohol, but your mind doesn't. You don't get the spiritual fitness. You don't get the happy, joyous, and free. All it does is remove the alcohol. If anything, it's almost a little bit worse than if you were just to detox for 5 days and get yourself into the big book. Personal opinion, but yeah, it doesn't give you recovery. No. No. You're welcome. Marla.
Hi, Marla, addict alcoholic. Perfect topic, or perfect tapestry today, and thank you for sharing that last story about that man. A friend of mine, her brother, he knows he's an alcoholic, and he'll talk to me about it, and he talks about the obsession of the mind and that body. He cannot. Well, anyways, he's craving. Okay, and so one of the things that I wanted to know when you were talking, I'm trying to figure out. I'm in the program, so I'm trying to figure out how to help him or get him help. And one of the things I noticed is that he's asked gentlemen to be a sponsor, but they immediately start this kind of behavioral approach, like, okay, shape up, stop it, you're being lazy. I mean, it's, to me, I know there's always more to the story, but some of this I've actually witnessed, and he's told me about it. So it's like trying to find people that are sympathetic and supportive has been challenging. But he keeps trying, and I think that last story that you talked about with the man, he had been in prison, this guy, for a while, and he was sober because he was in prison. But it's almost like he now is programmed that that's what his life has to be like. I keep talking with him. I almost want him to. Well, I did tell him about your, Little Miss Sobriety YouTube things. And I thought, well, why don't we sit down and listen to one of these? But it's just trying to keep an enthusiasm going for seeking a solution. So I'm glad you're sharing. And I know one other thing was, it seems like, okay, so now that he stopped drinking, he's eating mountains of sugar. And so you can see how it's almost like that's like a hangover itself. So I guess I just need to hear this. But if anybody has any solutions, that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah. So first off, when you're in prison and you're not drinking, you're dry. You're not sober. If you're not applying any sort of solution to it, you're just dry and you're in between drinks. Because as soon as they get out, they usually drink, right? With the sugar, it's actually, they talks about it on page 133. When detoxing, they do prescribe sugar because your body's craving that some sort of reaction, and the sugar helps mimic it. So I mean, I'm all for it. If sugar's going to keep you from picking up alcohol and give you enough time to apply this spiritual program, have yourself a bowl of gummy worms, like get at it. But once you've been detoxed from alcohol and there's no alcohol in your system, you're not technically craving the alcohol anymore. It's more on the lines of the malady and the obsession, where you think you can beat the game. Because if you don't have alcohol in your system, your body's not craving more. It's really, really complex the way the physiology of it works. But if his sponsorship is trying some moral psychology, we just read about that. He needs to apply the solution, and he needs to plug into a higher power, because that's only going to band-aid you for so long if you're a true alcoholic.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Get him in the big book study with the boys.
Well, I'm trying. I have the big book and he has a big book, and
Yeah.
I just am trying to say, okay, let's go. So I'm going to go to a meeting today and let's see if we can find some people. But yep, I know it's the answer there, and it's just.
Yeah, pick up a guy and just say, hey, or call this guy. Because when we try to push it on people, it doesn't work as well as we'd like.
No.
But yeah, if you just kind of steer them somewhere,
All right.
it can help
you.
a lot. All right. Kelly D.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I got so much out of this read. I always get so much more as we keep rereading the doctor's opinion. And I have here, commit the supreme sacrifice. My sponsor told me, death institution jail. This is life or death. You will die. And I was like, oh, really? Because I was really like a bad, really? Like, I'm going to die? And she's like, yeah, people die. And then the other thing I liked that was read was they are always going on the wagon for keeps. They are over remorseful and make many resolutions, but never a decision. That's the third step, the decision. And then, to work the rest of the program, the rest of the steps. And I made a decision, and I'm just very grateful to be here with you guys and be sober. So thanks, Kim.
Thanks so much.
And everybody.
Pam. Where are you? Pam, can you unmute?
Yes. Hi, my name's Pam, and I'm an alcoholic. And one of my sisters, I have two twin sisters that are about 4 years younger than me, and they both drink a lot. And I think they're both alcoholics. But one of my sisters tried some medication. It's not Antabuse, but it was something that takes away her cravings. Well, she's been on and off that for 3 years. So it doesn't work. I think if she gets really tired of drinking and wants to stop for a few days, she'll take it to help her. But it's just short term. And then she decides she wants to drink, so she goes off the medicine. So I just wanted to add that to the other lady that was talking about the medication.
Yeah, 100%. It doesn't apply a solution. It doesn't solve anything. All it does is prevent you from drinking, and there's a whole bunch of different pills that they give, and it's just detox. That's all it is. Drawn out, year-long detox. Painful. Della.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it is. Della, alcoholic. So I just got off my naltrexone, which works on the opioid receptors for the alcohol craving. And the addictions doctor said, yes, you need to stay on it for 6 months. But without the program and without the complete psychic and spiritual change, nothing was going to change. Whether the opioid receptors were dulled or not, it didn't matter. So yes, I complied with my doctor and I took it for, you know, the time that he wanted me to take it. But without this program, it's kind of useless because you're just blocking the opioids. You're not having that complete spiritual change. And so you know, talk to your doctor. We can't give medical advice, but at the same time, you know, working with that and the program, you're laughing, right? You're gonna have that spiritual change, and you're gonna have that happy, joyous, and free that you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Kim.
And that's mentioned throughout not only the doctor's opinion, but it's in Bill's story as well, and we get into it a bit more. They talk about detox and hospitalization, right? Whatever can separate you from alcohol to give us a chance to apply this spiritual program in your life, great, right? If you need to go to detox, if you need to do this, anything to separate you from alcohol to get rid of that fog so that we can help you get this program is what we're aiming for. So detox program, whatever the detox looks, let's do it, right? Some people can do it at home. Some people need to go to medical detox. Some people can use the anti-abuse. Whatever's going to help you to apply a solution. Thing is that's not the solution. That's the detox part. Yeah. All right, ladies, we are over time. We're going to read off the Serenity Prayer together. I saw something really cool at a district meeting, and I'm just going to throw it out there where if you put your hands like this in your little square, it looks like we're holding hands while we read the Serenity Prayer. I love it. So let's unmute, and we can virtually hold hands. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Yay!
Thank you.
Since we can't hold hands.
Thanks, Kim.
Bye. Thanks, Kimberly.
Everyone have a really good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank
good
you.
Night. Good night from England. Bye.
Oh, Dells, this lawyer, I tell ya.
See, I was just going to say I'm so glad I'm off my naltrexone because it was like $100 a month.
Oh yeah, it's super expensive.
It's super expensive.
Another one they use a lot is gabapentin.
Oh, that's such a bad pill.
It makes you fat, but it makes you happy. I took it for a month,
Yeah.
and I gained like 20 pounds.
It's
and
super
because I had an
addictive.
eating disorder, getting fat for me, it's like if I'm gonna get fat, I might as well drink.
No.
So that's what happens to you.
No, gabapentin is so bad. So bad.
So
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. And
And I did
they use it
actually-
for so many things. They just like give that stuff away.
And then you have another addiction. You've got a new addiction.
Yeah.
You had an alcohol addiction. Now you have an opioid addiction.
Exactly.
Ativan. I had a,
benzo. There's
benzo
another one.
girl here. Right?
Yeah.
Up to like 4 pills a night to sleep.
So
right?
this
Yeah.
lawyer this morning.
Yes, please.
Okay, I might just keep being my own lawyer. Like I'm kind of sick
think
of
you should.
I'm kind of sick of paying lawyers, and I'm like, you know what? Me and God got this. So this morning in court, they like requested all these documents on what I've spent of the money that I've got from the estate, which was just from the selling car. And I'm like, no problem. So I sent it to him, and now he's like, I'm gonna need more information, and you're ignoring the order of September 2019. And I'm like, no, all of the receipts are dated prior to September 19th. Did you not even open the attachments? Like, I haven't spent a dime since September 2019. I'm like, where do these people get their law degrees? I'm wondering.
No, they rely on their secretaries to open the attachments. Right?
He's like, you're not following the order, which said you couldn't spend money. I'm like, that was in September. I spent the money before September. And he's like,
Kimberly, my neighbor teaches at UBC, teaches law, so if you have any questions, I'll ask.
oh yeah, there we go.
You're doing a bang up job and keep doing it. 'cause
Yeah.
You're a little pity.
I'm like, I don't
You're a
really
little-
feel like spending $400 an hour for a lawyer when it seems to be working for me so far to do it myself.
right? No, it would be completely different if it was going the opposite way.
Yeah,
but
right?
it's not. It's not.
And I'm
you're
like,
competent,
yeah.
and you're smart, and no. Yeah.
Ask God for help.
Yeah, God's got this. Like God, like the things that God has put before me for this court case, like the day I was considering just giving up, I was like, this is so frustrating. Like, I don't want to do this. It was like the lawyer wanted $5,000 and I didn't like want to spend it and I didn't have the extra $5,000. I got $12,000 in somewhere that it came up, and my ex's best friend, who I hadn't heard from in almost 3 years, popped up and messaged me that day that I got the $12,000 and we had court the next day. And I was like, will you testify? And he's like, absolutely. I'm like, if that's not God, I don't know what is. Like, I was that whole day praying. I'm like, I'm done. I don't have the strength. And he's like, here you go. And I was like, thanks. Yeah. God's better than an expensive lawyer.
And you're smarter than most lawyers, so there you go.
It's just common sense, though. It really is. And the thing is, too, when you have the right motives, which this program gives me, right? I have the right motives, and my actions and everything are for the right reasons, and so it seems to align properly as a result.
And it would be totally different if it was a criminal trial or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's you are working for your best interest, and you have the best interest of your kids at heart. So it can't, right?
And like I said to the
selfish, it's not.
I said to the judge too. I said, "Sir, I don't even really want to be doing this. I'm just doing this to protect my kids." And I said, my kids have already won. My kids have a stable, sober mom with a successful business. They're fine without this money. This is just something that's due to them. And the judge is like, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm like, the kids are fine either way, but this is something their dad worked 17 years to build for them.
Yeah.
If you find that you're doing more work than the lawyer, or you're questioning what they're doing, take notes.
Yeah.
Just take notes and then run it by someone else. Because not all doctors and not all lawyers graduate from Harvard School with A's.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. This is it. And the lawyer was making me do so much legwork to save the money. And I'm like, why am I paying him to do everything else? And one of my best friends is a lawyer. And I'm like, go for a walk with her every 2 weeks. So I just run stuff by her. And Google has tons of information, I tell you.
Yeah, be careful.
Yeah.
Google doesn't understand state by state law.
Yeah, but they're listed what the laws are. And you can read like, oh yeah, I love your ringtone.
I have to go. Bye, ladies.
Bye. Yeah, so Adela, he didn't answer my email. I said, actually, the order's September. All the receipts I sent you were for prior than that. Now he's shut his face, but...
Right? Because he actually looked at it.
I'm like, seriously, dude, I didn't spend a dime after September.
No. You got this.
She hired a criminal lawyer, not an estate lawyer, so he doesn't know estate law. And that's all I've been doing is, like, studying this for the past 2 years.
Like I said, it's completely different.
Yeah.
They're completely different entities.
Even today in court, so my last name is Masters. Her last name is Warner. He was calling me Miss Warner. I'm like, Miss Warner is your client. I'm like, do you not even know who your client is, buddy? Like, oh, why am I here?
That's putting his foot in his mouth.
It was
like,
so funny. I'm like, But even my girlfriend, the lawyer, she said the judge is going to be more favorable to you because you're trying to save the estate money by doing as much as you can by yourself. And
right, that too, yeah.
And just being like, you know, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. And he says, do you understand? And I'm like, I understand. And he's like, okay. And then yeah, I don't interrupt. And I'm just like, okay. And it's not as intimidating because it's on the phone because of COVID.
Right?
If
That's even
I was
better.
in the courtroom, I'd probably be shaking in my boots, but it's all over the phone, so it's not very scary.
And you're comfortable, and you're in your yoga
Yeah.
pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're in your element.
Oh,
So it's like, yeah, it's not as intimidating.
It's entertaining, I'll tell you. I just can't wait for it to be over. It's just like so stupid. But all right, I'm gonna go walk my dog.
All right. I think I should take these guys too.
Yeah, he's like,
Sounds like a
he
plan.
heard me say it.
Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, don't say the W word around my doggies. Okay.
The ears go up.
Have a good day, guys.
Have a great day.